Hi all, how you going? Thanks for coming out. Look down the middle of there, is that all right? All right, let us know when you're good to go. Great. Look, thanks everyone for coming out. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, the Greens offered to the government we use this week to legislate dental into Medicare, seeing the GP for free and cutting student debt. But instead of focusing on measures that would make people's lives better, Labor is teaming up with Peter Dutton to gut our environment laws. Now, we know that Labor and Liberal do not care about the extinction of a species that they're attempting to fast track with these laws, but these laws go much broader and gut our environment and climate protections and take away the rights of people to speak up as the science changes. Now, there's still time for Labor and Liberal to change tack, to use this final week of this parliament to pass laws that would make people's lives better, like getting dental into Medicare, cutting student debt, and making it free to see the GP. We're willing to work on that, but it seems instead they're destined to have this week go down in history as the week that Extinction Albo and Devastation Dutton team up to gut our environment and climate laws instead of legislating to help people in a cost of living crisis. The Greens are going to fight this tooth and nail. Right now, as people are skipping meals to pay the rent and deferring doctors' visits because they simply can't afford it, we should be passing laws in this place to deal with a massive cost of living crisis as well as the environment and climate crisis that we're facing. And instead, Labor is teaming up with Peter Dutton to ram through legislation to weaken our environment and climate laws and deliver for big corporations. Well, the theme here this week for Labor and Liberal is putting corporations before the community and delivering for their big corporate donors. The Greens will fight to use these final few days of Parliament to deliver real cost of living relief for people by getting dental into Medicare, by cutting student debt and making it free to see the GP. The numbers are there in Parliament. That's what we should be legislating, not gutting our environment and climate laws.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Adam. Well, when the Senate sits at 12 o'clock, we'll be moving to suspend standing orders to send this rotten, toxic piece of legislation that the government wants to ram through the Parliament in a mere 2 days to a Senate inquiry. The unanswered questions about this rushed law is as long as your arm. The government can't answer. What are the unintended consequences? How far-reaching this piece of legislation will go? Will business as well as the community be locked out of having environmental assessments reconsidered? And it is a legal mess, a toxic mess, and a rotten policy from the Labor Party. And teaming up, the Albanese government is now teaming up with Peter Dutton to ram through legislation that is going to gut environmental protections, allow rotten salmon to continue washing up on the shores in Tasmania, to allow the rotten salmon industry a loophole in environment laws, and to open the floodgates to other industries to bypass environmental protections as well. The reason this is being done this week is because the Labor Party knows it stinks. The Labor Party knows this is a rotten law and they want to push it through the Parliament under the cover of today's budget. Well, the Greens are not going to stand for this. We're going to fight this every way this week in this Parliament, and we will make this an election issue because Australians deserve better. If these laws pass this Parliament this week, every Australian will know that the Labor Party cannot be trusted when it comes to protecting the environment, and that Peter Dutton and Anthony Albanese together have delivered loopholes for the big corporations at the expense of our wildlife, expense of nature, and the expense of the community. These rotten laws must be stopped. We're going to do everything we can to stop them. And whether it's this parliament or the next parliament, we will work to remove them.
Thanks, Larissa. Just a couple of comments on the scope of these laws. Like, folks could be misled by what we've heard from the Prime Minister and we've heard from Labor, that these laws are just about enabling salmon farming in Macquarie Harbour on the west coast of Tasmania. The scope of these laws is far, far broader than just limited to salmon farming or just limited to Macquarie Harbour. As long as the criteria are met, any and all projects fall within the scope of these laws. So these laws could well apply to coal and gas projects, fossil fuel projects, which means that the minister will be precluded from reconsideration as long as the criteria laid out in the legislation are met. So these are not just laws that are going to benefit multinational salmon farming corporations who are driving a species, the Maugean skate, into extinction in Macquarie Harbour in Tasmania. These laws could potentially benefit corporations right across the spectrum, including fossil fuel corporations. I also want to really quickly respond to some of the messaging you have heard and will hear from Labor in relation to the Maugean skate and a recent report. That report from IMAS in no way offers any comfort at all about the status of that species. The Prime Minister is misrepresenting the science, and no matter what the PM says or anyone else in the Labor Party, that species is teetering right now on the edge of extinction. It is one water warming event, one environmental event away from being wiped out entirely in the wild. This is an iconic fish species that survived for countless millennia, thank you very much, until the salmon farming corporations got their hooks into the marine environment in Tasmania. The Prime Minister is misrepresenting the science. This species teeters on the edge of extinction today, regardless of anything the PM says. Lastly, I want to say this. Labor has completely failed to understand the electoral mood in Tasmania at the moment. They will get slammed at the ballot box in Tasmania and right around the country for this legislation. Labor will pay for this legislation at the ballot box, not just in Tasmania, but right around Australia. People will vote for the environment, they will vote for nature, and they will vote to ensure the survival of the Maugean skate. Labor thinks it's on a winner, but it's on an electoral loser here, and they are going to pay at the ballot box for what they are doing in Parliament this week.
Well, whether it's protecting the environment or protecting women's rights, the Greens have got your back. We see Peter Dutton once again with that Liberal playbook trying to reduce workers' rights, trying to attack workers' rights at work. And the Greens today are announcing that we'll be introducing a bill to improve workers' rights, and that is to give workers, all workers, 12 days of paid reproductive health care leave. Now, we know that many workers, women, men, people of all genders, struggle to attend to their reproductive health care needs with the limited options that they've got for leave at work. And we just had a fantastic inquiry into menopause and perimenopause, where we heard that sadly many women are leaving the workforce because they need that flexibility or those leave provisions, and they're not getting it at work. So the Greens are backing in the campaigns by the ACTU and the Health Services Union that are calling for reproductive leave for women and also for men. This could be used for things like vasectomies, for things like attending the scan of your upcoming bubba with your partner, and it could also be used for things like endometriosis, for period pain, or of course for menopause and perimenopause. So we think this is a crucial investment in workers' rights, and we're encouraging the Labor Party to come on board with the Greens and deliver for workers, deliver that reproductive healthcare leave and that right to request flexibility for reproductive healthcare needs. Now, it looks like it will be a minority parliament after the election, and the Greens will be putting this on the table. Let's be on the side of women and be on the side of workers, rather than see Mr Dutton continue to attack women continue to force people away from working from home, back into the office, make it harder for women to juggle all of the things that they've got going on in modern life, and let's make sure that women and workers' rights can be protected.
Mr. Bandt, we've heard a bit about domestic gas reserves recently. Do the Greens support domestic gas reserves?
We've been saying for some time, and the stats, including from the ACCC, back this up. The gas corporations are plundering the domestic market to fulfil their export contracts. Now, and then at the same time, claiming that there's a shortage. Now, Australia is awash with gas. Most of it is sent overseas, together with the profits, tax-free. Now, at the same time as the gas corporations, who often get their gas for free, are making billions of dollars of profits sending Australia's gas offshore tax-free, they're plundering the domestic market and then claiming there's a shortfall. Now, 22 petajoules is how much they're ripping out in 2025, and that's forecast to grow to the point where about half of the equivalent of half of what the manufacturing sector uses is being ripped out of the domestic market so that these corporations can fulfill their overseas contracts. The Greens will stop the gas corporations ripping gas out of the domestic market to send overseas, at the same time as stopping new coal and gas mines from being opened. These very same gas corporations that are saying that there's a shortage are the ones who are ripping it away from Australian industry and households so that they can send it overseas. First step should be stopping that. And then we can also stop opening new coal and gas mines because we are in the middle of a climate crisis. We've been calling for that for some time. With a minority parliament looming, hopefully, we can get some action to rein in these big gas corporations who are taking the country for a ride. The answer is not opening up more coal and gas mines that in the way that Labor and Liberal want. The first step has got to be to stop them ripping gas out of the domestic market to send overseas. People are hurting now. People need help now. Meanwhile, 1 in 3 big corporations in this country pays no tax at all. And the Treasurer says, well, there's not enough money in the budget to do things right now, like get dental into Medicare, be able to see the GP for free, or wipe student debt. Now, instead of making everyday people wait another 5, 10, 15 years for help, the budget needs to deliver assistance to people who are doing it tough now. And we can fund that by making those big corporations pay their fair share of tax. I hope the budget makes big corporations pay their fair share of tax. When a nurse pays more tax than a multinational, something is deeply wrong. There's money available to do things like get dental into Medicare if the government's got the guts to make big corporations pay tax. I hope that's what's in the budget, because then we could deliver help for people right now and not say it's a platform for action in 5, 10, 15 years' time.
Just on the budget, and this might be one for you, Senator Hanson-Young. I'm just curious what you're expecting out of it or hoping out of it when it comes to nature, the EPA, nature positive, and so on. We have seen in the past people like Ken Henry talk about like the tracking of billions, and in last year's budget, I think we had a few little pockets of here, a couple $100 million there. What do we need to be seeing, and maybe what do you actually think?
I don't think there's going to be much in the budget for nature. Let me be clear. This government has shown its cards, and its cards are cutting environmental laws, gutting protection, and even shelving their own environment policies. They did that in the last sitting week when we were here. I note that the minister announced some money on the weekend, so that'll be in the budget, but it's $50 million a year. $250 million over 5 years is a drop in the ocean for what is needed to halt extinction, protect our environment, and restore the devastation of nature that is going on. And frankly, $50 million a year pales in comparison to the $12.5 billion that the government is spending on taxpayer subsidies to the fossil fuel industry pales in comparison. And you've really got to see this for what it is. A bit of pocket money on one hand, while the government is moving to gut environmental protection so that industry corporations like the rotten salmon industry can bypass environment law, and it says everything. I mean, if that's the price, if $50 million a year has been the price to shut up the Environment Minister from saying what she really thinks about this salmon regulation and the gutting of the Environment Protection Act, that's pretty cheap. I wouldn't have been, you'd hope that the Environment Minister would have negotiated for more for nature, seeing as the whole legacy of this government has been thrown under the bus by the Prime Minister's moves this week.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.